my name is Anna Blanca and this is Sage Demers. We are the founders of Addictive Wellness. Sage, he is the most incredible human being I've ever met in my life. He's full of love, light, wisdom, and this is innate energy that when he just enters a room, people feel it. And besides being a love of my life, he has wonderful stories to tell. We love you to listen to it.
Hi everybody, I'm Sage, and thank you for that amazing intro, Ana Blanca. So, I grew up here in Southern California, in Calabasas to be specific. Was very fortunate to grow up in an area with lots of nature around, kind of out in the Santa Monica Mountains. And I have amazing parents. I'm so grateful for them. Just super loving, super warm, and got me into so much great stuff right from the beginning. Diet-wise, I grew up as a vegetarian, not a healthy one necessarily. You know, lots of things were done right, but lots of things I would modify. But the key is that my parents were doing the absolute best they knew how to do with the knowledge they had at the time. So what they thought is that if you were a vegetarian and eating organic food, that is like the best thing you could do. And in lots of ways it was. But there was also the part where, you know, dinner 6 nights a week was basmati rice and tofu. Now, basmati rice does have certain beneficial properties to it in the Ayurvedic tradition and whatnot, but you know, with the soy, you run into a lot of different kinds of problems there, from the goitrogenic effects on the thyroid to the estrogens and the impairment of nutrient absorption. But somehow,
thank God the estrogenic effect had no effect on you. But go
I
on.
really dodged a bullet because there's all these bad things that are supposed to happen, but thank goodness I came out with perfectly healthy hormone levels and really perfectly functioning thyroid. So it turned out okay. Now, I wasn't, you know, at optimal vitality and full of energy and just, you know, gumption for life necessarily. You know, through my later childhood and into my teen years, you know, my energy was not where I would have loved it to be. But still, it was better than having McDonald's, which I was never having. And, you know, all these things that most people and my friends at school were having every single day. You know, I was having not much variety. You know, I told you about my dinners. Lunch every day was peanut butter and jelly but at least it was on, you know, organic whole wheat bread rather than the white bread that other people were having. So, not perfect, but things were definitely in, you know, the right direction. And the other cool thing...
And beautiful intentions.
Yeah, the intention was there. You know, when everybody else was eating conventional, my parents were feeding us organic food, and for that and many other things, I'm hugely grateful. And I also grew up in a very spiritual household. My parents were devotees, first of Baba Muktananda, an Indian guru, and then of his successor, Guru Mai Chifalasananda.
Can you please explain who Guru Mai was in a way that people actually probably heard of her?
Yeah, so many people actually may have indirectly heard of Guru Mai, who's an amazing Indian spiritual teacher. In the book Eat, Pray, Love, when the woman goes to India to go to an ashram and study with his guru, that actually is Guru Mai in the real life version of the story. So this is a teacher that comes from an incredible lineage of incredible wisdom and just depth of spiritual understanding. So growing up, my house every Thursday night transformed into a meditation center. We would have what was called satsang, or it's kind of like a spiritual gathering of a community every Thursday night. So Thursday nights at my house were spiritual talks and teachings, followed by chanting of Sanskrit mantras with a whole group, where you get into this incredible and enlivened and highly spiritual and, you know, totally definitely a flow state with these powerful mantras, and then it would finish with meditation. And so this being something that I was growing up around just kind of soaked it up, really. There was no way of escaping it, not that I wanted to. It was such a beautiful thing.
I love those pictures of your dad holding you as a newborn.
And yeah, even as a newborn. So my dad would be chanting the Guru Gita, which is a Sanskrit mantra every morning, and he would have me in his lap there, and I was just soaking it up. So hugely fortunate to have grown up in this kind of situation. And then health-wise,
Tell that story. Tell the story when you were 4 years old and you disappeared during the satsang. I love that.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't 4. I was more like 2.
2?
Yeah.
He was only 2.
Yeah.
Because that says so much about the child.
So we were at a satsang at the ashram, and this lineage which Guru Mai comes from and which my parents and I were following is called the Siddhi Yoga teachings. And so we were at a satsang with Guru Mai when I was about 2 years old. And at the end of the satsang, they go through what's called darshan, where the Guru has everyone line up in front, and one by one she's bopping them over the head with a wand of peacock feathers, which is said to carry tremendous spiritual energy. And then, it was a line of so many hundreds of people, and it was just an hours-long line. And so my parents were just hanging out, and the next thing you know, I had disappeared. And they couldn't really figure out where I was. They were looking all around, and then they saw that I was up there sitting in Guru Mai's lap, totally calm, totally chilled out. I don't remember how I found my way up there. And for hours, while this whole line of people was coming through...
Let's put this in perspective. There's a 2-year-old sitting quietly, not getting food, not crying, not sleeping, just... I have these beautiful pictures of him of that. To me, it says so much about who you become.
Yeah, so anyways, to finish the story, for hours while people were coming through, I was just chilling out, soaking up the good vibes. So to fast forward a little bit, growing up, I had lots of good things going on in my life, as you can tell, but my health awareness wasn't really there. But then it was around 14 when I first started to kind of get exposed to some concepts of, I guess you could call it Eastern health tradition of really treating disease before it happens, really going to the prevention side of things rather than just waiting for symptoms to come up and just treating the symptoms rather than going to the root of the cause, as is so often practiced in the Western system. And, that was kind of in the back of my mind and was kind of getting, exposed to a few more kind of Oriental traditional systems a little bit. And then when I was 18, actually to step back, when I was 16, my parents opened up a wellness center in the Thousand Oaks community in Southern California.
Such a lucky duck you are.
Yeah, so they started out, they had these infrared jade massage beds with these heated jade rollers that would roll up and down your back, with the infrared heat and elongating the spine and working out the tension. So that was cool. I was, on those from age 14 and really did wonders for my posture as that was all developing. But then, a few years later at their wellness center, I met this gentleman who was in his early to mid 40s and just looked to be in an incredible state of health, totally ripped, looked, 10 to 15 years younger than he was. And he had a health food company of his own, and they made this, it was kind of like a hemp protein mix with some chlorella and spirulina and some other different, Western herbs and kind of cleansing herbs in there. And so I wanted what this guy had. No question about it. I wanted to be on whatever program he was on. I thought this guy was a serious badass. I wanted a piece of that. And so...
No, you are the badass.
Well, working on it. And so I started taking this protein mix every day, and I didn't know really what to do with it. So I would just blend it up with like orange juice, not fresh orange juice, like Tropicana orange juice, and some frozen strawberries and blueberries and a frozen banana. And it was disgusting. It was gross. But I was so committed and determined. I wanted these results. I wanted to have longevity. I wanted to be, more muscular. I wanted to surf better and surf longer and so much. And so I did it. I was committed. I didn't care what it tasted like. And this really this desire of mine became even stronger after I'd been having it for a little while. And I realized I was getting this incredible high afterwards. And I was just feeling so clear, so alive, so energized and awake, it blew my mind. And this just created an awakening in the way that I thought about lifestyle and food and so many other things. And I realized if this was out there for the past 18 years of my life. And I didn't know about it. I had completely been missing out on this feeling I could have had every single day. What else have I been missing out on?
Wow.
So this started the research. So, the research started on the website of this product. I was looking at all the descriptions they had on there of what the hemp protein did and what the spirulina did and the different properties and why it was better to have these ingredients raw so you would have the enzymes and not be damaging any of the heat sensitive nutrients in there.
You're going to talk about all of these later in another episode.
Yeah. This is just my story. Everything will get revisited.
Everything will get revisited.
And it just, went from there. And the more new superfoods and herbs and things I incorporated into my life, the better I felt. And so the more excited I got about learning more. It was just this whole new opening world of awareness and curiosity that was developing for me. And so I was learning about raw foods, about superfoods, then got into more learning about traditional herbal systems of indigenous cultures, some of Ayurveda, and especially the, traditional Chinese herbalism, and especially the Taoist tonic herbal system and the Taoist health philosophy. And then after I finished college, and during college I was trying to spread this to as many of my friends as possible. But it was hard because it was still disgusting. Everything I was making just tasted horrible.
Oh, no.
I didn't care.
Tell the surfing story when you're on a surf trip.
It's coming. The story's coming. Hang on. So a few of my friends and I went on a surf trip to Costa Rica.
I'm sorry, I'm just crying laughing.
Sometimes when you're on a surf trip, there's not always an abundance of really good food available. Depends where you're at and what the opportunity is. But so I brought, a mix of the same mix I was talking about before, the hemp protein and chlorella spirulina mix. And I had a little magic bullet with me, and I would just get some fruit juice and a banana from the little market, and would be blending up these drinks, and we'd go out and surf, and after 2 hours in the water, my friends were burnt out. They were done and ready to come back in and rest and eat and all that. I was out there in the water ready to surf for 6 hours, and they would just see me come in, pound a drink, go back out. And pound a drink meaning one of these superfood drinks, not a tequila or what do they call it?
I'm sorry.
To clarify what we're talking about,
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing
because that's the program they were on at the time. They were more than happy to go in and pound a few drinks.
I just can't even imagine you having a tequila. You having.
So they were like, "Wow, what is this stuff you're having? Can you maybe blend me up one of those before we go out for another session?" And so I did. Problem was, it was so intense, a combination of the taste and the detoxifying effects on their bodies, which were in the middle of college and all the self-inflicted bodily abuses that college entails for most people. They were detoxing so fast that it would be a matter of minutes before they were in the bathroom throwing up. And so I realized a couple things. First, you got to start gentle with people with smaller doses, number one. And number two, if you're going to really get people onto this whole path and amazing experience and open the doors for them,
Drum roll.
you got to win on taste. It has to taste amazing. It's got to be so good that they actually want it, not because of the health benefits, but because it just tastes amazing, and then they'll start feeling amazing, and then the domino effect will go from there.
Yeah.
But to win over most people, the taste has got to be
That's
epic.
how he got me too. But it's another story.
Yeah. So I realized you got to make it taste good. Then after college, I moved to Western Australia, which was a long time dream of mine, and I went to work for a health food company there doing sales and product development, and that was where I really began to have a daily Ashtanga yoga practice. And that was really a transformative experience for not just becoming flexible and stronger, but for really cultivating an awareness and control of the inner energy systems of my body, and opening up whole new levels of inner sensitivities and awareness. And so when you balance out these different areas, when you have a physical practice like that that's really on point, you are more aware of the effects that the food is having on your body. And when you're eating a clean diet, if someone's just doing yoga but not eating well, and then they start eating well, they're going to understand the effects that the yoga practice is having more on their body. So these are such synergistic things to be doing. And after that, I had a 1-year working holiday visa in Australia. So, eventually my time there was amazing, but ended up coming back here to California, back to my home. And started working for a couple of years at the Air One Tonic Bar, where I met Ana Blanca, and creating amazing, delicious elixirs for everybody. And it was kind of like all day long R&D, because you could make something for someone kind of customized to what they were telling you they were experiencing on all levels of mind, body, and spirit, and get an instant reaction. See how they reacted to the flavor, to the texture, to the temperature and the presentation style. And then they would give you the feedback on what was going on with them internally, how they were reacting. Or maybe they would come back the next day, or maybe somebody would come in and tell me about the challenges they were having with gas or bloating or candida or whatever it may be. And I would, direct them to the best high quality fermented vegetables and say, you got to cut your sugar, get on these probiotics, get on these fermented vegetables. And they would come back a couple weeks later, just like, wow, I feel great. And just like they would have this like calm and clarity about them, and you could really tell that a shift had taken place. And after that, I really, was inspired by this tonic elixir bar model. And so I did a bit of consulting work with a couple of 5-star hotels, one in Sydney and one in Paris, setting up these kinds of elixir bars in their hotels to essentially introduce the whole concept of healthy indulgence to this market of world travelers. So I had really come, full circle from being a world traveler and not being able to turn anybody onto this because it tasted horrible, to now turning on world travelers to this whole path of healthy consumption of their favorite treats in a way that could benefit them immensely.
And now people who go on trips and they know that they have no good snacks at airports, they take hot chocolate with us.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I haven't really actually even thought about that complete circle until just this moment, so it's quite nice to reflect on.
It's amazing to see those pictures.
Yeah, and so from there, the natural progression, I had been making chocolate as a hobby for years, and when I was living in Australia, they would have these retreats, and I would teach on these yoga retreats about chocolate making and the benefits of raw chocolate, and even getting into some superfoods and Chinese and Ayurvedic herbs and things like that. But it finally got to the point where it felt like this chocolate would be something that would be incredible and super fun to bring to a wider audience and share with the world, and what better than to do that together with Ana Blanca. So, thank you guys for joining us for my story, and if there's parts of it that were really interesting to you or that you found curious or would love to know more about, please let us know in the comments section below.
Because then we can figure out which priority is going to be the best next topic to cover.
Right.
Which would be the highest priority. That's what I was trying to say. Never mind.
Yeah, so of course let us know what's the most fascinating to you guys, and we would be more than happy to sculpt our coming content to what really captures your attention. And thank you again for joining us.
I'm so excited about the whole idea.
And thanks for joining us, and do please make sure to click subscribe down here and join us for the next episode, because we don't want you to miss any of it. We're really happy to be sharing all of this with you.
See you next time. Okay.